Welcome to PowerHab English, the channel where learning English transforms into an exciting and engaging adventure. Today marks the beginning of a thrilling journey into the life of one of the most controversial and influential figures in world history, Adolf Hitler. Whether you admire him or despise him, there's no denying that his story is filled with powerful themes, dreams, failures, unrelenting ambition, and the pursuit of power. From being a small boy with big dreams to becoming a man who dramatically changed the course of the world, this is the story of Adolf Hitler as you've never heard it before. So, are you ready to join us? Grab your headphones, find a comfortable spot, and get ready to dive deep into this incredible tale. This story will not only help you improve your English skills, but will also keep you captivated from start to finish. And remember, for more fascinating stories and effective English learning tips, stay connected with PowerHab English, your trusted source for personal growth and mastering the English language. It all started on April 20th, 1889, in a small, quiet town called Braunau am Inn located in Austria. On that day, a baby boy was born to Alois and Clara Hitler. They named him Adolf, unaware that this little boy would grow up to leave a mark on the world, a mark that would be felt for generations to come. As a child, Adolf did not seem to be anything extraordinary. He loved spending time outside playing with his friends, drawing pictures, and dreaming of a big future. He had the same childhood fantasies and hopes that many young children have. But his early life was far from perfect. His father Alois was a very strict man with rigid expectations. Alois wanted Adolf to follow in his footsteps, to study hard, and eventually secure a stable government job just as he had done. But Adolf had different dreams. "I want to be an artist," he told his mother Clara on more than one occasion. Clara loved her son deeply and supported his artistic aspirations, but she couldn't change Alois's mind. He was determined to make Adolf follow the traditional path of success, one that didn't involve anything as uncertain or unprofitable as art. Adolf's childhood was marked by constant arguments and emotional conflicts with his father. Alois would shout, "Art is not a real job." He couldn't understand why his son didn't want to follow the secure and respectable path of a government worker. Adolf, frustrated and hurt, would remain silent, hiding his tears. The emotional distance between father and son grew wider, and the young boy became increasingly resentful of his father's demands. This was a time of emotional turmoil for Adolf, and it would shape him for years to come. When Adolf was 13 years old, his father suddenly died. This unexpected loss left a profound effect on him. Some people believed that he would feel free at last, relieved from the oppressive expectations of his father. But instead, losing Alois left a deep emotional wound in Adolf's heart. He struggled with his emotions and the sudden shift in his life. Instead of feeling liberated, Adolf found himself lost and uncertain about his future. After his father's death, Adolf started to withdraw from school. Once a bright and promising student, he began skipping classes and lost interest in his education. Teachers would often say, "Adolf is smart, but lazy. All he wants to do is draw." His academic performance started to decline, and his passion for art only grew stronger. The classroom and traditional learning seemed less important to him. He felt a deep need to express himself through painting. Once he finished school, Adolf decided to leave his hometown behind and chase his dreams in Vienna, the cultural capital of Austria. He was excited and hopeful about the future. "Vienna is the city of art," he thought to himself. "This is where I will become a famous painter." He was determined to apply to the Academy of Fine Arts, one of the most prestigious art schools in the country. He truly believed this was his opportunity to prove himself. But when the results came back, his heart shattered. He didn't get in. The school told him, "Your work is not good enough." Adolf was devastated. He had put all his hopes into this application, only to be rejected. But Adolf didn't give up. Despite the humiliation, he swore to try again. "I will keep trying," he said, determined to make it. The following year he applied to the academy once more, full of hope that this time things would be different. However, his hopes were dashed once again. The school rejected him a second time. This rejection broke him. He was now left without a school, a job, or a clear direction in life. Adolf's life became even more difficult. Without the support of his family or a stable income, he found himself living in small, dirty rooms. At times, he had nowhere to sleep but the streets of Vienna. He struggled to survive, often painting postcards and selling them to tourists for a little money. Despite all his hardships, he never stopped dreaming of a future as an artist. But there were moments, especially in his darker days, when he wondered, why is life so unfair? Through all of this, Adolf was confronted with the harsh reality of pursuing his dreams in a world that often seemed to ignore or reject him. His dreams of becoming a famous artist appeared to be slipping further away, and yet he continued to press on. His story would go on to take a drastically different turn. But these early struggles with rejection, poverty, and loss would shape the man he was to become. During this difficult time, Adolf's mother passed away. He was left completely alone, and the loss of his mother only deepened his sense of anger and frustration. In his grief, Adolf began to blame others for his failures. "It's not my fault," he would often say, unable to face the reality of his situation. But then, in 1914, everything changed. World War I began, and Adolf saw a chance to make his life meaningful again. He joined the German army, eager to prove his worth. Finally, "I am part of something big," he thought to himself, believing that this could be his opportunity to find purpose. Adolf proved to be a brave soldier. He carried messages across dangerous battlefields and demonstrated remarkable courage. His bravery earned him 2 medals, which were awarded for his actions in the war. However, in 1918, Germany lost the war and Adolf was furious. "Our leaders betrayed us," he shouted in anger. The defeat left him with a deep feeling of betrayal, and he believed that Germany needed someone strong to bring the country back to power. After the war, Adolf returned to a devastated Germany. The country was in chaos, with poverty and hunger spreading rapidly. People were angry about the outcome of the war, and many felt hopeless. Adolf saw this as his chance to step in and provide the leadership Germany desperately needed. He joined a small political group called the German Workers' Party, where he quickly gained attention due to his passionate speeches. Adolf was an incredibly powerful speaker, and when he spoke, people listened. His words were full of anger, determination, and promises. "Germany will rise again," he would declare, and more people began to follow him. He understood the power of his words, and he used them to gather a crowd of supporters. Adolf decided to change the name of the group to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. He designed the group's symbol, a red flag with a black swastika, which would later become one of the most recognizable and powerful symbols in the world. His speeches grew in popularity, and thousands of people came to hear him speak. They believed in his dream of a powerful and united Germany. But Adolf's ideas were dangerous. He blamed certain groups of people for Germany's problems, particularly Jews, and he envisioned a Germany that would be exclusively for Germans. His hatred and prejudice were reflected in his ideas and speeches. After World War I, Germany was in serious trouble. The economy was in ruins, with people struggling to find jobs, and food was scarce. Many families went hungry, and the country was burdened with heavy reparations that they had to pay to other nations due to their defeat in the war. The German people were angry, frustrated, and deeply saddened by their situation. Adolf Hitler saw their pain and used it to his advantage. "It's not your fault," he told them. "I know who is to blame." His words resonated with the people, giving them hope, but also fueling their anger towards others. Slowly but surely, Adolf's name became more and more popular. Adolf worked tirelessly to grow his party. He held large meetings and gave impassioned speeches, shouting, "Germany can be great again." The people responded enthusiastically, clapping and cheering, convinced that Adolf was the answer to their country's problems. They believed in his vision for a better future, but they also believed in his promises of revenge and power. In 1923, Adolf took a drastic step in trying to seize control of the German government by force. This event, known as the Beer Hall Putsch, ended in failure. Adolf was arrested and sentenced to prison for 9 months. While in prison, Adolf wrote a book called Mein Kampf, which translates to My Struggle. In this book, he outlined his ideas and vision for Germany. He argued that Germany needed to become a powerful nation once again, and blamed specific groups of people for the country's downfall. His book quickly gained popularity, and many Germans began to believe in his ideas, including his dangerous views about race and power. After his release from prison, Adolf worked even harder to grow the Nazi Party. By 1933, the Nazi Party had become a powerful political force. Adolf's efforts finally paid off when he was chosen as the Chancellor of Germany, the country's top leader. His rise to power marked the beginning of a new and terrifying chapter in Germany's history. This was the beginning of a new chapter in Adolf Hitler's rule. He promised jobs, a strong military, and a bright future for the German people. The people trusted him, believing that he could restore Germany to its former glory. But what they didn't know was the dangerous plans he was secretly plotting behind the scenes. As Chancellor, Adolf made many changes that appeared to be positive. He built roads, factories, and schools. More people found work, and Germany began to look strong again. The economy improved, and the people were happy. They said Hitler is a hero. However, beneath the surface of this apparent success, Adolf had sinister motives. He didn't just want to build a strong Germany, he wanted complete control over every aspect of life. He began to control the media, newspapers, radios, and schools. The people were told, "You can only believe in Adolf Hitler." Anyone who disagreed with him was punished, imprisoned, or silenced. Adolf's regime stifled any form of opposition, creating an environment of fear and compliance. To enforce his power, Adolf created a strong and loyal army called the SS Schutzstaffel, and a group of young boys known as the Hitler Youth. The Hitler Youth were trained to fight and spread Nazi ideology, ensuring that future generations would follow Hitler's vision of the world. The swastika flag, which Adolf had adopted as the symbol of the Nazi Party, became a symbol of his power and control. Everywhere in Germany, the swastika could be seen, a constant reminder of his authority. Adolf's speeches became even more powerful and impassioned. He would say, "Germany is the best, we will rule the world." Crowds of people cheered and shouted, "Heil Hitler!" His words fueled the growing support for his ideas, and more people began to follow him, believing in his promises of a new powerful Germany. Then, in 1939, Adolf made his boldest and most dangerous move. He ordered the German army to invade Poland, which marked the beginning of World War II. This was the moment when Adolf's vision for Germany and his ambitions for world domination began to unfold. His dream was to take over all of Europe and make Germany the most powerful country in the world. At first, Adolf's army experienced many victories. They were strong, well-trained, and equipped with the latest military technology. The German forces quickly overran much of Europe, and Adolf seemed unstoppable. However, as the war dragged on, things started to go wrong for Adolf. He had made too many enemies, and the tide of war began to turn against him. His enemies, including the United States, the Soviet Union, and Britain, were too strong. The German army began to suffer defeats on the battlefield, and the situation became increasingly dire. Bombs fell on German cities, causing massive destruction and loss of life. But while the war was raging on, Adolf was doing something even more horrific. He had a plan to remove all Jews and others he considered undesirable from his vision of Germany. This horrific plan would become known as the Holocaust, one of the darkest chapters in human history. Millions of innocent people were brutally murdered in concentration camps and death camps. Entire families were wiped out, and a whole group of people was systematically exterminated because of their race, religion, or beliefs. By 1944, Germany began to lose the war. The Allied forces were too powerful, and Adolf's military was no longer as strong as it had once been. The people who had once called Adolf a hero, who had cheered for him and followed him, began to lose hope. The promises of a strong, united Germany seemed impossible to fulfill. As the war came to an end, it became clear that Adolf Hitler's vision had failed, and his dreams of world domination would never come to pass. As the war continued to turn against him, Adolf became increasingly paranoid. He trusted no one and spent most of his time hiding in his bunker. By 1944, Hitler's dreams of ruling the world were crumbling. His once unstoppable army was now losing battles on every front. The Soviet Union, one of his biggest enemies, had pushed the German army back from the east. At the same time, American and British forces were launching attacks from the west. German cities were bombed day and night, and families lost their homes. The people began to question their loyalty to him, asking themselves, "Why did we follow him?" But even as things fell apart, Adolf did not give up. He remained in his bunker, shouting orders to his generals, insisting, "We will not surrender." But deep inside, even Adolf knew that the war was lost. His delusion of victory was shattered, and the realization that he had led Germany to its downfall began to weigh heavily on him. In early 1945, Adolf stayed in a bunker deep underground in Berlin. The bunker was cold, dark, and far from the battles above, but it offered some protection from the bombs falling around the city. Inside the bunker, Adolf spent his days planning for the future, even though there was little hope left. He was not alone. His most loyal followers remained by his side, including his longtime companion, Eva Braun. Eva had been with Adolf for many years, though he kept their relationship mostly private. She loved him, even in his darkest days. Outside the bunker, the sound of gunfire grew louder every day. The Soviet army was closing in on Berlin. "The end is near," whispered his advisors. Leaders from other countries begged Adolf to surrender, urging him to save the people of Germany. But Adolf refused. He believed surrender was a sign of weakness. "If Germany loses, it is because the people were not strong enough," he said, coldly convinced that the fault lay not with his decisions, but with the strength of the German people. By April 1945, Berlin was surrounded. The Soviet army attacked the city from all sides. Buildings collapsed, fires raged, and people ran for their lives, desperate to escape the devastation. On April 29, 1945, Adolf made a surprising decision. In the bunker with his closest followers as witnesses, he married Eva Braun. The ceremony was simple, with only a few people present. "You've always been by my side," Eva Adolf said, looking at his wife with a mixture of affection and resignation. Eva smiled, though she knew deep down that this was not a joyous occasion. The end was inevitable. After the wedding, Adolf and Eva spent hours together, reflecting on their lives and everything they had done. Both knew the end was near, and they said their goodbyes, preparing for the final moments. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf made his final decision. He called his closest followers into the bunker and told them, "I will not be captured alive." For Adolf, it was better to die than to face capture by his enemies. He believed that death was the only way to maintain control even in defeat. Together, he and Eva went to a small room in the bunker. Moments later, they took their own lives. Adolf was 56 years old. When Soviet soldiers reached the bunker, they found Adolf and Eva's bodies. The war in Europe came to an end shortly after, with Germany officially surrendering on May 8, 1945. The people of Germany were left with nothing but ruins. Adolf's dream of making Germany a powerful nation had brought nothing but destruction and sorrow. Millions of lives were lost because of his actions, and the country was left to pick up the pieces. After Adolf's death, the world worked to rebuild, and Germany slowly began to transform into a peaceful country. People remembered the horrors of the Holocaust, and World War II determined to ensure that such atrocities would never happen again. The world vowed to never forget the lessons of the past, and Germany, once led by Adolf Hitler, became a symbol of resilience and reconciliation, reminding future generations of the terrible cost of hatred and power. Today, Adolf Hitler's name has become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked hatred, unrestrained ambition, and the catastrophic misuse of power. His life story serves as a stark reminder of the destructive consequences that come with pursuing power at all costs. Through his actions, Adolf Hitler unleashed a wave of suffering and loss that affected not only Germany, but the entire world. His legacy continues to echo through history, warning us about the perils of allowing hatred and blind ambition to guide our decisions. Adolf's story teaches us one of the most important lessons in life. Every decision we make, no matter how small it may seem, at the time shapes the future. The choices Adolf made were driven by his own personal desires for power and control. Yet those decisions led to immense suffering for millions of innocent people. The consequences of his actions continue to affect generations long after his death. His life serves as a reminder that every single action we take, no matter how trivial it may seem, can ripple out and have profound consequences not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. As we reflect on Adolf Hitler's life and the devastating impact of his choices, it is crucial to understand that we too have the power to shape the world through the decisions we make every day. His story serves as a powerful reminder that we must choose wisely, with careful consideration of the impact our choices have on others. It's easy to get caught up in personal ambition or anger, but we must remember that the true measure of a person's legacy is not what they gain, but how they treat others and the world they leave behind. Adolf Hitler's story is also a cautionary tale about the importance of compassion, unity, and understanding in a world that is too often divided by hatred and fear. Hatred and division only serve to tear people apart, creating walls where there should be bridges. On the other hand, when we come together, when we respect one another and work toward a common goal, we have the potential to achieve greatness as a society. The world is a far better place when compassion and understanding guide our actions, when we choose unity over division, and when we work together to build a peaceful and just world for future generations. Life is far too short to be consumed by anger, resentment, or judgment. By choosing kindness, empathy, and understanding, we can create a future filled with hope and promise, not regret. This is the message we must carry with us as we move forward in our lives. We must choose love over hate, humility over pride, and unity over division. These simple yet profound lessons can have a transformative impact on our lives, on the lives of those around us, and ultimately on the world at large. The story of Adolf Hitler is a tragic one, but it is also a powerful reminder of the importance of learning from history. His life, filled with ambition, dreams of power, and devastating mistakes, reminds us that history is not just a reflection of the past, it is a guide for the future. By studying history and understanding its lessons, we can build a better world, one where we learn from the mistakes of the past and work to ensure that such atrocities never happen again. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this important story. It's not just a tale of the past. It's a call to action for each of us to reflect on the impact of our choices and to work toward a world where compassion, unity, and peace prevail over hatred and division. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to PowerHab English for more stories that help you learn English while exploring history. Together we can create a future filled with understanding, kindness, and hope. See you in the next story.